That feeling, the one in the pit of your stomach right before a big meeting or after you get a promotion, the little voice that whispers, "You're a fraud, and today is the day they're all going to find out." This is a universal human experience, but most people fight it with tools that only make it stronger. 99% of people miss the final, counterintuitive action I'm going to share. The one that doesn't just silence the voice, but actually rewires the part of your brain that creates it. Fraudulent feeling. Let's start by giving this thing a name, because what we can name, we can begin to understand. It's called imposter syndrome, or more accurately, the imposter phenomenon, because it's not a permanent diagnosis, it's a temporary situational experience. And it's a liar, it's a cognitive distortion, a funhouse mirror that reflects a warped version of your own competence back at you. It's the experience of feeling like a phony, despite having a track record of success, qualifications, and accomplishments that objectively prove you are anything but. It's the brilliant student who is terrified she only got into the program by a fluke. It's the accomplished executive who is convinced he's about to be exposed as incompetent. It's that deep, nagging feeling that you've somehow managed to deceive everyone around you into thinking you're smarter and more capable than you actually are. The reason this feeling is so insidious is because it creates a self-perpetuating cycle that is incredibly difficult to break. It starts with a new challenge, a project, a promotion, a new role. The imposter feeling immediately kicks in, flooding you with anxiety and self-doubt. To cope with this terror, you do one of two things. You either procrastinate, leaving things to the last minute, or you over-prepare, working twice as hard as anyone else to make sure you're not found out. Then, inevitably, you succeed. You get a good grade, you deliver a great presentation, you complete the project successfully. But here's the cruel twist. You don't internalize this success. You don't allow it to update your internal resume of competence. Instead, your brain immediately explains it away. If you procrastinated, you attribute your success to pure luck. Phew, I really dodged a bullet there. I got lucky this time. If you over-prepared, you attribute it to brute force effort. Well, of course I succeeded. I worked 80 hours a week. Anyone could have done it if they'd killed themselves like I did. It doesn't prove I'm actually smart or talented. So the success provides only a fleeting moment of relief, not a lasting feeling of accomplishment. The core belief that you are a fraud remains untouched, and the next time a challenge comes along, the cycle begins all over again, often with even more intensity. It's an exhausting, confidence-shredding treadmill, and it's a secret that some of the most successful people you know are running on every single day. The first step to crushing this is simply to normalize it. This feeling is not a sign of a personal flaw, it is often a side effect of high achievement. Research shows that it's particularly common among high achievers, perfectionists, and people who are breaking new ground in their family or community, the first to go to college, the first to enter a certain profession. It means you are pushing yourself, you are growing, and you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. The absence of this feeling isn't always confidence, sometimes it's complacency. So the goal is not to never feel this way again. The goal is to recognize the feeling when it shows up, to see it for the cognitive distortion it is, and to have a set of powerful, science-backed tools to prevent it from hijacking your brain and dictating your behavior. You are not a fraud. You are a human being who is challenging yourself, and that is something to be proud of. Brain science? To really defeat an enemy, you have to understand how it thinks. So let's look at the brain science behind why this fraudulent feeling is so powerful and convincing. Our brains are, for better or worse, wired with a strong negativity bias. This is an evolutionary hangover from a time when survival depended on being hyper-aware of threats. Our ancient ancestors who obsessed over the one rustle in the bushes that might be a tiger were more likely to survive and pass on their genes than the ones who blissfully ignored it. As a result, our brains are like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. One piece of criticism can stick with us for days, while a dozen compliments slide right off. Imposter syndrome is the negativity bias on steroids, applied directly to our sense of self-worth and confidence. When you feel like an imposter, your brain is actively scanning for any and all evidence that confirms this belief. You miss one question in a meeting, your brain screams, "See, I told you, you don't know anything." You get 9 positive comments and 1 piece of constructive feedback on a report, your brain will obsess over that one critique, using it as absolute proof of your inadequacy while completely dismissing the 9 pieces of praise. The feeling of being a fraud is an emotional conclusion, and your brain will work tirelessly to find data, no matter how small or irrelevant, to support it. This creates a battle inside your head between two different parts of your brain. The feeling itself originates in the amygdala, your brain's emotional alarm system. It's the part that triggers the fight or flight response. When you're in a high-stakes situation, your amygdala can sound the social threat alarm, screaming, "Danger! You're going to be socially rejected. You're going to be cast out from the tribe." This is a primal, powerful, and very loud signal. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the more logical, rational part of your brain, is holding a folder full of evidence to the contrary: your degree, your resume, your past successes. But in the heat of the moment, the emotional scream of the amygdala often drowns out the calm, logical whisper of the prefrontal cortex. The feeling feels more real than the facts. The secret to winning this battle is not to try and argue with the feeling or suppress it. That's like trying to win a shouting match with a smoke detector. The key is to systematically lower the volume of the amygdala's alarm while simultaneously amplifying the voice of the prefrontal cortex. We have to give our logical brain better, more emotionally resonant evidence to work with. We have to consciously and deliberately counteract the negativity bias by training our brains to get better at catching and holding on to the positive data. It's a process of actively rewiring these neural pathways. It's not about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking. It's about training your brain to see the whole picture, not just the one scary, distorted corner that the imposter syndrome wants you to fixate on. Evidence locker. This brings us to our first major, actionable strategy. If the problem is that our brain is great at collecting negative evidence and terrible at retaining positive evidence, then we need to become conscious, deliberate collectors of our own success. We are going to build what I call an evidence locker. This is not a metaphor. I want you to create a real physical or digital place where you will store undeniable, objective proof of your competence and achievements. This is your personal arsenal to bring to the fight when your amygdala starts its fear-mongering. The key here is that you must do this when you are feeling calm and rational, not in the middle of an imposter syndrome attack. You are preparing for the battle during peacetime. Your evidence locker should contain 3 different types of proof. The first is hard, factual data. This is the stuff that is completely objective and not up for interpretation. It includes your diplomas, your certifications, your official job title, the letter offering you that promotion, data showing the success of a project you led, or the final polished version of a report you wrote. This is the evidence that would hold up in a court of law. It's easy to dismiss these things in our minds. Oh, that degree was from a long time ago, that promotion wasn't a big deal. But when you see them collected in one place, they create a powerful visual and factual counter-narrative to the feeling of being a fraud. The second type of evidence is qualitative praise. This is where you will store every single positive email, thank you note, or message you have ever received. Go through your inbox right now and screenshot them. Take a picture of a handwritten card from a client. Type out the specific positive feedback you received in a performance review. This is incredibly important because it provides external validation from other people. The imposter voice loves to tell you that you're the only one who knows you're a fraud. This part of your locker is a chorus of other voices, colleagues, bosses, clients, mentors, all saying, "No, you're not. You are good at what you do, and you have made a positive impact on me." When you are feeling low, reading these words from others can be a powerful antidote to the poison of your own self-doubt. The third and perhaps most important type of evidence is your own record of your process. This is a journal where you specifically write down your wins, but not just the outcome. I want you to document the process. Write down a difficult problem you faced and the steps you took to solve it. Detail a time you were confused about something, how you researched it, and how you figured it out. This is crucial because the imposter syndrome attributes success to luck or external factors. By documenting your own problem-solving process, you are creating undeniable proof that your success was a direct result of your own thinking, your own resilience, and your own skills. You are capturing the evidence of your competence in action. Building this 3-tiered evidence locker is your primary defense. It is the ammunition your rational brain needs to fight back effectively against the fraudulent feeling. Mental reframe. Once you have your evidence locker, you have the raw material. Now, we need to work on the mental software. We need to actively reframe the thoughts that trigger the imposter cycle. This is a technique rooted in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's about catching the distorted thought, challenging it with your evidence, and consciously replacing it with a more accurate and helpful one. The most common imposter thought is some version of, I don't belong here, I don't know enough. This thought is rooted in a perfectionistic, performance-oriented mindset. It assumes that you are supposed to be a flawless expert who already has all the answers. This is an impossible standard, and it's the very thing that fuels the fear of being found out. The secret trick here is to shift your mindset from one of a performer to one of a contributor and a learner. When you feel that thought, I don't belong here, I want you to consciously reframe it to, I am here to learn and contribute. This is a game changer. The performer mindset is all about you and your fear of judgment. It's a spotlight. The contributor mindset is about the work and the people around you. It's a flashlight. It takes the focus off of your own perceived inadequacies and puts it onto the task at hand. How can I add value? What can I learn from this situation? What unique perspective can I bring, even if I don't know everything? This immediately lowers the stakes and reduces the pressure. You are no longer pretending to be an expert. You are embracing the role of a capable, growing professional. Let's walk through how this works in practice. You're in a meeting and you don't understand a concept someone is explaining. The imposter thought is, don't ask a question. They'll all realize you're the only one who doesn't get it. You're a fraud. This leads to you staying silent, feeling more confused, and reinforcing your belief that you don't belong. Now, let's apply the reframe. The thought comes up. You catch it. You challenge it. It's okay not to know everything. My value comes from my curiosity and willingness to learn. Then you apply the contributor or learner reframe. My contribution right now is to ask for clarity, because if I'm confused, someone else probably is too. You then ask the question, could you explain that concept in a different way? I want to make sure I'm fully understanding it. You have just turned a moment of potential shame into an act of collaborative learning. This mental reframe is a skill that you have to practice. At first, it will feel clunky and unnatural, but every time you do it, you are carving a new neural pathway in your brain. You are weakening the automatic fear-based reaction and strengthening a more conscious, curious, and resilient one. It's about changing your objective from proving my worth to participating in my growth. This shift doesn't just help you feel better, it actually makes you more effective. People who are in a learning mindset are more creative, more collaborative, and better problem solvers. By reframing the thought, you are not just crushing the imposter syndrome, you are unlocking a higher level of your own performance. Actionable signal. We have now arrived at the final, most powerful, and most counterintuitive piece of the puzzle. We've normalized the feeling, we've understood the brain science, we've built our evidence locker, and we've practiced the mental reframe. But there is one action you can take that will accelerate this entire process and solidify your sense of confidence faster than anything else. It's the secret trick that most people miss because it feels like the last thing you should do when you feel like a fraud. The secret is this: teach someone something. I'm talking about the protege effect, a well-documented psychological phenomenon which shows that one of the most effective ways to learn and internalize information is to teach it to someone else. When you feel like an imposter, your instinct is to hide, to consume more information, to hoard knowledge in a desperate attempt to fill your perceived gaps. The protege effect flips this on its head. It says the most powerful way to feel competent is to give your knowledge away. The act of teaching, mentoring, or explaining a concept to another person forces your brain to engage with your own expertise in a completely different way. You can no longer passively hold the information. You have to actively retrieve it, organize it into a logical structure, and articulate it in a way that someone else can understand. This process is the ultimate proof of competence to your own brain. It bypasses the emotional feeling of being a fraud and connects you directly with the cognitive reality of your knowledge. This doesn't have to be a formal, grand gesture. It can be small and integrated into your daily life. Find a new person on your team and offer to walk them through a process you know well. When a friend is struggling with something you've already figured out, take 15 minutes to explain your method. Volunteer to lead a short lunch and learn session at work on a topic you're passionate about. Start a small blog or just write an email to a few colleagues explaining a new tool or technique you found useful. The act of stepping into the role of the teacher, even for a moment, fundamentally shifts your self-perception. You move from being the nervous student afraid of being called on to being the helpful guide who is lighting the way for others. This is the ultimate hack because it's an embodied cognition. You are not just thinking your way out of the feeling, you are acting your way out of it. Your physical actions and the social role you adopt send a powerful signal back to your brain that recalibrates your sense of self. It is the fastest way to turn your Teflon knowledge into Velcro confidence. The imposter voice thrives in isolation and fear. The act of teaching is an act of connection and generosity. It breaks the cycle of anxious self-focus and replaces it with a cycle of confident contribution. So the next time you feel that fraudulent feeling creeping in, don't retreat into your shell. Your mission is to find someone, anyone, and teach them something you know. It is the most powerful signal of competence you can send, not just to them, but to the most important audience of all, yourself. Imposter syndrome is not a life sentence. It is a signal from a part of your brain that is trying to keep you safe, but is using an outdated and unhelpful strategy. By understanding its language, building a case for your own competence, reframing your purpose, and taking the brave step to share what you know, you can move from being a prisoner of that feeling to being the architect of your own unshakable confidence. The goal isn't to banish the voice forever, but to build a self that is so strong, so authentic, and so grounded in evidence that when the voice does whisper, you can finally smile back and say, "Thanks for sharing, but I've got this." The evidence locker was a big one for me. Which part of this made you feel the most understood? Let's be real in the comments.